Hey everybody, Claire here, and look who I have. It's the lovely, beautiful Martha. Hi.
Hi.
And she's one of my dear friends and an amazing interior designer. So talented.
Why, thank you.
It's so true. Your aesthetic is just top notch. It's the best. And I dragged her on here today to talk about basically the life of being an interior designer and all the work that kind of goes into it. Because I feel like all of us who's ever had to work on either, renovating a home or just sort of zhuzhing an apartment, or just if you watch a lot of HGTV, there's a lot of misconceptions about the actual work that goes into becoming a creative in the space. So I thought she'd be the perfect person to bring on to talk about that. And please show her some love on Instagram. It's @OddEra, so I'll be down here. And then also you can check out her amazing work on marthamulholland.com. She's done retail and residential and commercial, like all different kinds of projects. Like I feel like your background is really varied, which is great. Yeah, so she can tell you what's what, kind of.
I'll help you out.
Exactly. She'll hook you up in the comments below, ask some questions if I don't get to any of the things you guys are curious about. First question, how would you describe what you do?
I mean, there's so many facets of it, but basically creating beautiful environments for other people to experience whatever it is that they're trying to experience, either if it's a retail situation, how to transport you into a world of this product that you want to be in it and you want to buy it and you want to have that lifestyle. If it's commercial, a place that would feel warm and cozy like a home, but that still is really functional as an office, for instance. And then of course for residential, making beautiful, captivating spaces for people with their current possessions, or creating new spaces, and just making habitats that are lovely and inviting and referential and all of that.
I really love how it seems like how you're describing your work. It's so grounded in an emotional experience.
For sure.
Yeah,
it is really emotional, actually, and I won't say the bad side, but it's a very emotional job in that you kind of become someone's therapist in a way as well, because there is a lot of emotion and attachment to aesthetics and also to your possessions and to letting someone else in who has an opinion and is trying to kind of help you, and you have to be very I think open to that, or it's a fine line of kind of coddling people and also guiding them and trying to be like, you hired a design professional for a reason, let me do my job. So it's a little bit of playing therapist, but it's mostly about trying to take these scattered bits of whoever's vision, or maybe they have no vision at all, and bringing it to life in some kind of a four-walled space.
What's the best thing about the job? What's the worst thing about the job? And this can be petty, it could be top line.
Best thing, hands down, is seeing the space actually come together, particularly when it's a very involved project that involves renovation, from the studs to the rugs, that moment where you're installing everything and you're styling it and you see it, and it's all of that hard work and all of these things that you thought would never be, would never come to fruition are actualized, and they're just oh my God, I did it. It's extremely gratifying, and it kind of pushes me to go on, whereas sometimes in the middle of it, I'm I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. There's a certain amount of trust in hiring a design professional, and you're kind of putting yourself out there and yourself on the line, and saying trust me.
Yeah.
And when something doesn't work the way it's supposed to, or the way you think it will, and you have to answer for that, the feeling of disappointing somebody, especially when there's a financial commitment involved, is awful.
Yeah.
It's an awful feeling. Just as the reverse, seeing somebody light up because you've made this thing for them that they love, is super gratifying.
It really is amazing to me about how many creative jobs and even non-creative jobs really do come down to not quite client services, but just about it's a management of expectations. Absolutely. And a realization of a project.
Yeah. And it's customer service,
exactly.
In a way too. I mean, it is creative, and it's about, producing something, but it's also about just, client management.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
Which, especially if you have a difficult client, can be also really emotional and hard for you as the designer when somebody is like mean to you or like irrational or has like expectations that are crazy. I mean, it gets really hard.
Well, the thing people forget about the creative process is that in order for you to be creative, you have to be open. And if you're open, that means you're vulnerable.
Totally. That balance is something that I think is only learned with time and having, unfortunately, bad experiences where you do fail or you disappoint people or you let things get to you and, you know, kind of, you have to fall down and pick yourself up again.
Totally.
Which, you know.
Last two questions. First is, what was your path? Like, how did you get into all of this? And would you change anything about that? Like how you came into it?
Oh man. You know, I think about this sometimes because I feel like I came into it sort of, I don't know. I feel like most people who end up in fields and enjoy success in fields often come to it through a more circuitous path rather than just going to school for something, graduating. With any creative field, I think it's not to be discouraging, but it's kind of like with an eye, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, you can't learn it.
It's really hard to kind of set out and be like, this is my plan. And for me, it was, I started in art history and historic preservation, and then I moved into fashion and doing visual merchandising and then exhibition design. And I was always collecting antiques on the side and doing my own apartments and, helping friends. And then suddenly it just morphed into this thing, but having all of these kind of other passions or these other experiences was really, it was great. But I never had planned it. I never imagined that this was where I would end up necessarily, which has been tough as I grow my business because I'm kind of like, there is no model. There is no like template for this. There's no person that has laid out like a business plan for me. So it's very scary. You're leaving yourself, especially when you're in a client-based business, to the hands of fate to some degree, to deliver new clients, to get the word out, so I wonder like if I had gone to school for this or if I had a mentor, like would this have been easier? Would it be less scary? I don't know, because that's just not the way my path has been. And I can look at other people who have certain connections that have allowed them to get where they are, and you can't get like in your head with that kind of stuff because it's just not your own situation. I'm glad it's happened the way it's happened, and I think gives me something that makes my eye slightly different than other people's. So yeah, it's not been like an easy road, but I'm glad that the path is wound the way it did.
It's just like a pinball machine where people bounce from one thing to another thing, and that informs the trajectory. That's the best thing. Like that's the thing that makes it so cool, and that's how I sort of, market myself to clients to some degree. Is like to me the same sort of principles of making a beautiful space that's inviting apply, whether it's a shop window, a living room, an office. Like you still want to be transported. You want to feel, comfortable, you want to be inspired. So it can come from a lot of different places, and I think actually that makes a much more fully realized sort of creative experience. What is one unexpected truth about what you do that you think people would be surprised to hear, people who are outside of the industry? Everything takes so much longer than you think it will take, that it's supposed to take. HGTV has kind of created this false sense of like, oh, we can just whip a place into shape overnight, and it does not work like that. No, not if you're doing permits. Yeah, whenever you're dealing with something that involves pulling a permit, or not even, it could just be a private residential remodel, and you can open a wall and find a pipe, and suddenly like your whole plan has gone $30,000 over budget. Everything is so much more expensive than you think it's going to be. And so I kind of bite my tongue whenever a client proposes a timeline to me, because as much as I want to be like, absolutely, it's like never happens, because there's always something, like everything has this lead time. If you want something that's cool, like it just, it's something that you have to exercise a lot of patience, and you have to kind of think creatively about how to work in phases, because it just drags on for a while most of the time. That's a great like tip and sort of unique little earmark to put there. That it just, plan and then add another like 40-50% of time
And money.
and money. And money.
Hopefully not.
Always
but
expect overages.
Yeah,
That's definitely true. Well, this was so much fun.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
my
for
gosh.
having me.
It's so fascinating, and you have so much passion for it, and I could just like listen like all day to what you have to say.
Thanks, man.
Of course. And please make sure to follow lovely Martha at Odd Era. So all the information will be down here and below. And also check out her website, marthamulholland.com. And please ask questions in the comments below. I'll make sure she creeps on and, you know, answers a few if you guys have any questions about what it takes to become an interior designer badass like her. But thank you so much. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.